citizens of the world. This video is by far, for me, the most important message I've ever had to give. And I ask you all, my brothers and sisters of the anonymous family and of the human collective consciousness, to listen to it in its entirety, and share it as much as possible. We make these videos for you the viewers to show you what the quote, reality we live in is really like, behind all lies, illusions, rumors and ignorance. To have this knowledge is the first step in fighting the New World Order. But knowledge without wisdom is dangerous. I see examples of that all the time. Good people who dug into this knowledge too deeply, and in their anger and despair did something they hadn't thought through well enough. Actions like that can put you in prison, or worse. It also creates a bad reputation for those who are patiently and consistently dedicating their lives to educate and enlighten people. The way to fight the New World Order is not with violence, no, not even peacefully. The truth is, you can't fight the New World Order in this reality, it's doomed to fail. Many have tried, but no one has succeeded. The reason for this is the following, and this is my worldview. Take it for what it is, agree or disagree, it's up to you. I am not trying to create yet another dogma or become some kind of guru. That's the last thing I want. All I want is for you to hear this whole video, ponder it and decide how much of it, if any, you perceive is ringing true to you and only take that to heart. The reality we live in is commonly called the third dimension or third density. Both terms used by me on this matter is interchangeable. This is a very physical, non-spiritual and a very tough place to live in. It is an imbalance of good and evil, where we've let the pendulum swing more towards evil and now evil has run wild and free. Yes, that is right, we did it to ourselves. The Illuminati wouldn't be able to exist if we wouldn't have let them get their way. The New World Order would never have been an issue if we wouldn't have let it happen. We created the third dimension, as we shall explain. We are around 8 billion souls with bodies on this planet, and most of us have no clue what is going on around us, only because we have let ignorance substitute knowledge. It is our own laziness and our own egos that have made this reality stick, and here we are. It all boils down to personal responsibility, which is something that needs to be worked on constantly. Therefore, it is much easier to let someone else take care of that part, so we don't have to bother. In a reality where good and evil exist, we would like to find a balance between the two, and to expand spiritually, we need to tip over towards the positive side. There is no such balance here, and this imbalance is the third dimension, our reality. This is the reality where good and evil are in constant battle, and evil is now ruling over good. Thus there is war, poverty, racism, violence, drugs and darkness, and no or little progress towards a more positive than negative polarity. We create our own reality by free choice. It doesn't matter how many people tell me otherwise, it is very self-evident. Everybody living on this planet have agreed upon the same reality, more or less. This is where we are in the spiritual evolution. Otherwise we wouldn't experience the same things. Almost every second of the day we make choices. These choices create our future, that is obvious. You make a decision and something happens. You make another decision and something else happens. Then we make a new decision based upon the previous decision, and life goes on. Thus we create our own reality. You could have made different choices, and your future would have been different. How often haven't we thought, shit, I should have made a different decision and I wouldn't have been in this mess. In a perfect world, you are free to make your own decisions, regardless of what other people are thinking. But we have come to a point where the majority will judge the ones that do not share the same opinion. Also, most people think they are free to make their own decisions, and that no one else is seriously interfering with their thoughts. This is simply not true. The Illuminati have manipulated us for a very long time, and created a reality for us all to live in, a reality they want us to believe in for their own reasons. They do this in a number of different ways, as described in our previous videos. The key here is that 95% of the population, a rough personal estimate, doesn't even know they are manipulated and are living with the illusion that they are free, and free thinkers. Not true. The brilliance of the Illuminati manipulation and the mass mind control is that we don't know that we are under control. Therefore, we can still make choices in life as much as we want, but all choices are limited to the reality we live in and choices the elite allow us. We cannot make choices about something we don't know. Thus we can't develop spiritually until we understand that we are manipulated, and we must learn how the manipulation is set up, and by whom, from the highest levels to the ones interacting with you daily online. That call it online influencers for good reason. We must finally realize that this reality, the third dimension, is an illusion and a creation of our manipulators, and ultimately ourselves, as I will explain in more details later in this video. First, then, can we make choices that take us outside the prison walls? However, no one said it is an easy task to break loose, because if it was, most people would have done it already. Nevertheless, it is absolutely necessary. The alternative, unfortunately, is a living hell on earth. This third dimension reality cannot be changed by fighting evil with force, a definition that only makes it worse, and that is what we are seeing today. Everyone 24/7 online exposing corruption and atrocities, so we manifest it. The more people joining, and it will be even more of a hell to live in. Can you fight evil with good? Peaceful demonstrations? By waking people up and then have those enlightened souls go out and fight the enemy? No, that wouldn't be very successful either. That has already been tried quite a few times throughout history. Last time was perhaps in the 60s, with their hippie movement. The intention was good, but the resistance was quite easily infiltrated and defeated by the Illuminati. The hippie culture of the 60s was basically an Illuminati experiment that went out of hand, as people actually did start breaking loose, but with not too much effort the manipulators managed to stop the movement. After the 1960s, humanity sank down into an abyss of apathy and violence for a decade or two. A new awakening has taken place again since the late 80s and up to now, but this time we need to do things differently and we're running out of time. To understand this situation better, let us ponder the following: the spirit, soul, the spirit and the soul are synonymous, and for simplicity I will commonly use the word spirit. The spirit is immortal, and the spirit is you. You are not your body, and you are not your brain or your mind. You are the spirit. Your body is your tool here in the third dimension, and you need it to operate here. However, the illusion of time, the agreed upon reality, deteriorates the body eventually. We call it aging, and after a certain perceived amount of time the body cannot function anymore, and it dies. It's all programmed into our DNA. However, only the body dies, you don't. No matter what the Illuminati or anyone else is doing to you, no one can kill you. They can destroy your body and torture your mind, but they can't kill you, the spirit. This is very important to remember, because the Illuminati control us with fear and with terror. They need to create threats around us, so we feel unsafe and fear for our lives, and the lives of our dear ones. And to have us fear their threats, they need to have us believe that we are our bodies and that they can kill us. This way they keep us in check. So the first thing to do to fight the Illuminati is to realize that you are an immortal spirit, and no matter what they do to you, they can't kill you. So, what about religion? Well, it doesn't matter what you believe in, and I'll explain why. Their darkness that is spreading out its veil over humanity can't be blamed on a few people in power, who are furiously trying to control the world. We have no one to blame except ourselves. Race and religion make no difference, we all share the fact that we are human. I also don't like the word blame. Even if you blame yourself, the word is associated with guilt, which is a very destructive emotion. Instead of blaming oneself or somebody else, We need to see everything that happens as a learning process, and as such, we have to allow ourselves and others to make mistakes, big or small, as long as we learn from them. If we accept this, we also have an easy time loving and accepting each other. Unconditional love. Your belief system is secondary. The primary is unconditional love, and acceptance of self and others as being part of the one infinite creator, whether you call him just that, God, Yahweh, Allah or whatever. If you have this in mind and pick up the Bible, the Quran or any other holy scripture I can think of, you will see that they actually all say we are part of the one infinite creator. If he created us and everything else that lives, we must be part of him no matter what your belief system is. There is no way around it. The greatest threat to all humanity lies within each one of us. We are creating our reality together, and we are all responsible for the outcome. If the world goes dark, we created darkness. If the earth turns into a paradise, we created light, and we all can take credit for it. If we do the latter, we will also ascend to higher dimensions, densities. Consequently, if the Illuminati remain in power, they do so because we put them there in the first place, or allowed them to put themselves there. They are just a mirror of all our consciousness. Death. They have also trained us to fear death. They want us to believe one of a few things. 1. This life is all there is. When you die, you are gone and there is nothing more to it, which is atheism. 2. There is a heaven and there is a hell. This is only true if we believe it is true. The Christian belief in heaven and hell is another way to control us. By telling us there is an eternal fear after death if you don't choose the right path is a way to scare us and lead us into another dogma. 3. Believe whatever you want as long as it doesn't make you free. There, Illuminati created all those religions and cults to divide and conquer, to turn man against man in religious wars, and to create a problem, making us ignorant of what is true and what is not. By confusing people with different belief systems, the population is less likely to find their way out of the trap. There is no hell, except the one we are creating for ourselves, and heaven is something different from what we are taught. They also realized a long time ago that you can't just create one idea and expect everybody to embrace it. You have to have choices. They don't mind us having choices, so long as all our choices lead to nowhere. To understand heaven and hell we have to understand who or what God is. God is not a man in the sky with a long, white beard. God is not a man at all, and not a woman either. God is sexless. God is the life energy. God is everything. It is the universe. It is you, me, the animals, the flowers, the atoms, everything that is. Because everything is energy. You are part of the life force or life energy, and therefore you can create your own reality. If you are an aware being, maybe your next question will be, so if I can create my own reality, why am I here in the third dimension, suffering together with the rest of the world? I want a better life for myself, so why can't I get it? Most of us are here because we agreed to come to this reality, basically to learn. It's a tough lesson, because this is also the reality of deception, and you really have to crawl through a needle's eye to find your path. Once here, we are manipulated to believe that this reality is all there is. And when you give birth to children, you will probably teach them the same thing you were taught, directly or indirectly, unwittingly denying them the truth that there are more and different realities. You may be religious and teach your children about religion, but they will still be stuck in the agreed upon reality. Another possibility why you are here is that you chose to come here to help humanity out, to help those who want to listen, to learn how to evolve enough to leave the third dimension for good. Now, what happens after death? Reincarnation. Simple math tells us that spirits reincarnate over and over again, until we learn our lessons and rise above the trap of good and evil, body and soul, materialism and ignorance. There is almost no other choice than to reincarnate, because of the fact that we create our own reality, and if we think that the third dimension is all there is, many people will do everything in our power to take another body and incarnate in it, at least until they learn the lesson. I say almost no other choice, because it all depends on our beliefs and how stuck we are in our dogmas. When your body dies and you, the soul or spirit, separate yourself from the shell that is your body, you will experience pure joy at first, feel a relief and happiness you were never able to experience in the material world, like you have been chained to your imperfect body and now you are free. This has been proven by studying people who were dead for a short time and then came back. This is your native state, and if you are aware, you can choose what lessons you need to learn next. Perhaps participate in other games on other levels, but only if you are enlightened enough. Most people choose to reincarnate after have rested in between lives, also because they miss things in the material world. It could be loved ones or simply material assets. Now, if you believe that you are evil and start thinking that you probably will go to hell, that may be the reality you will experience. So in that sense the concept of hell is true. Again, if everything is energy, you, in your native state, can create the reality you want. So be careful what you think. To choose wisely, you need to be wise. The way to break the cycle of reincarnation is to be more aware spiritually and thus transform from the third dimension to the next, and then to the next, etc., and eventually experience what we may call heaven, where no good and evil exists, only pure energy, from which love emits. All the rest is the illusion. Unconditional love is equivalent to the soul. Unfortunately, the fear that has been implanted in us since birth prevents us from moving on between lives. We are afraid of the unknown, or rather the realities we have forgotten about, and therefore we decide to return to planet Earth, Dimension 3, by taking a new body here. It is an endless cycle, unless we choose to be brave and break it. To be able to do that we first have to learn our lessons. Jesus, you say. What about Jesus, and what about the book of Revelations? Jesus most probably existed. There are researchers today that say Jesus is a myth, and that there was never a Jesus walking around on earth. What they mostly build their evidence on is the similarities between Jesus' life and the life of earlier real or mythological figures in different cults and religions, and occult gods and goddesses. According to those stories, Jesus was not the only savior born around Christmas and killed around Easter. He was not the only one that had 12 disciples and died on the cross. Just do a search for Mithra on the internet. They also refer to the occult symbolism in the Bible, and determine that Jesus must be a symbolic person, a creation of the Illuminati. Then they throw out the baby with the bath water, instead of perhaps looking a little deeper. I am certain, and there is evidence of this, discussed elsewhere on my website, that the Illuminati has tampered with the Bible and changed it into an occult dogma to control us. They have also, through their Freemasonic Christian priests and preachers throughout time, told us to take the Bible literally, when they know so well that it's written in code, and they don't want ordinary people to understand the secrets behind those codes. However, nothing of this excludes that Jesus as a being was here on earth, trying to enlighten us. The Illuminati have changed the story, trying to tell us that Jesus was the one Son of God, which separates the rest of us from the God energy and make us less powerful. I don't believe Jesus ever said he was the only Son of God. Yes, he was a Son of God just like the rest of us, but otherwise, he was a spiritually enlightened being who chose to come here to teach us something. Some people may call him an ascended master. I am sure he is not the only ascended master who has walked this earth trying to enlighten us, and there are quite a few indications that some of these beings are actually here on earth right now in an effort to guide us in the right direction. This is also the basic belief of the New Age movement, and I believe that to be true, but New Age in general is just another controlled movement to lead us astray. Also, we live in a mathematical universe, where numbers and symbols actually mean something. If these ascended masters had 12 disciples, you can safely presume there is power in that number. One of the deceptions in the Bible, as I see it, is the book of Revelations. The Christians teach that this is the outcome, written in stone. Therefore, no true Christians believe we should change anything, because what is written in the book of Revelations is what is going to happen. It is God's will, and we can do nothing, and should do nothing about it. All we should do is to do our ministry and lead people to Christ. This is the solution and the only solution. It is obvious that what is written in the book of Revelations is happening all around us. We can quote from the book and look around and we will see that the book appears to be correct. This viewpoint is the exact viewpoint the Illuminati wants us to have. This way they can operate more freely to achieve their goals, and those believing that the book of Revelations is the future are stuck in this reality, together with them. To me it is obvious that the book of Revelations is one direction the future can take, but it is up to ourselves if we want to experience that reality or if we want to change path, because everything is energy and we are able to control energy if we know how. However, by telling us through a man-made religion that this is the only outcome, it serves their Illuminati well. It is pretty well built into our common consciousness by now and solidly agreed upon that these writings are true prophecies and dictated by God, and if enough people believe in something, it is likely to happen. The Illuminati know this, and therefore, if we believe that the book of Revelations and other similar writings are prophecies and the outlined future, it will only serve the oppressors. However, there is one thing I agree on with the book of Revelation, and that is that we have to turn to God as a solution. The difference between my way of seeing it and the Bible's literal way of explaining it is that as a Christian you separate yourself from God, pure energy, while I insist that we need to realize we are one with this energy. We are God energy. If we continue to separate ourselves from one, we will not make any progress, but are nothing more than leaves in the wind, blowing to wherever the wind decides to take us. Another deception, as I see it, is that everybody is born in sin and therefore man is not good, but basically evil. The true Christians base this upon the heritage from the Garden of Eden, and I can understand it from that viewpoint, if you believe in the Jewish Torah. However, by stressing this and giving power to man's evil side creates a very unhealthy balance. Man is both good and evil, there is no argument about that, but to stress that a child is born in sin and is basically evil, pulls up the bad sides in the individual rather than a good side, and those who believes this to be true will live their lives in guilt, which is very destructive. Ponder this, every time you are doing something good for somebody else and you see the result in form of happiness and satisfaction in the other person, you feel really good yourself. You become happy too. I dare say that the most rewarding thing you can do to feel good is to do something good for others without expecting anything back. On the contrary, when you do evil against somebody, you feel bad and try to justify your evil behavior by blaming somebody else. You never need to justify your good deeds, not to yourself or others. People who have fallen so deep that they don't have any conscience anymore are not happy people. They may not feel guilt or remorse, but they are not happy people. I don't know how else to explain this. I find it pretty self-evident that man prefers to do good, basically, before doing evil. Consequently, I believe that on a very high spiritual level there is no good or evil, only unconditional love, which is a very euphoric state of beingness. To understand all this a little better, let's take a look at the concept of time. Time is not linear, as we are taught to believe. In the third dimension it appears to be so, but this is yet another illusion. All time exists simultaneously. There is no past and there is no future. Everything is a big now. We all have, more or less, an infinity of options in life. We make decisions almost every second of our day. The decisions can be simple or they can be more complex. A simple decision could be, should I eat the banana or not? You choose to eat it, but you could have chosen not to as well. Depending on your decision, you create a reality based on that specific decision, and your future in the third dimension will be affected by it. Therefore it is extremely important to try not to think negative thoughts, because you may end up where the negative thoughts lead you. Therefore the quote, "Be careful what you wish for, because you may end up getting it." You may state, "What did I tell you? I told you all this negative stuff would happen to me, and look at this, I was right." Yes, you were right, because you made it happen with your thought patterns, energy. To be aware that all your decisions in life create your present and future, the way time is perceived here, you can start taking steps to change your direction. Just by deciding you don't want to be part of the New World Order is the first step on this level of awareness. From there we need to start searching for wisdom. Wisdom. Now we have the knowledge. Where and how do we find wisdom? Do we need a guru? No. Wisdom is within ourselves, because we already know everything, due to that we are all part of the God energy. We just need to be reminded. Meditation is a good tool towards enlightenment. Another is to read and learn from the spiritually enlightened beings who are here around us right now, and from those of the past. Read, ask questions and learn, but remember, the truth is within yourself. Whomever you read or ask questions is only a tool for you to remember what you already know. Follow your instincts. Your intuition is senior to your intellect. This is not done in one day, it's a process. Nevertheless, it's the only way to avoid being part of the future of the third dimension. In this reality evil will prevail. It's up to each of us to decide whether we want to be part of this future or not. Music. This is an interesting topic. Ever since I was 12 or 13 years old I have talked to friends and people about how I perceive the physical universe to have been created with music, and that there are still echoes of those giant symphonies from the creation emitting from the endless galaxies, nebulas, stars and planets. If we could place ourselves outside or above this perceived physical universe, we might be able to hear those great symphonies for what they really are, beautiful vibrations. I hadn't read or heard any scientists confirming what I told people, I just felt it was right. Not until very recently have I started hearing about how science claims that matter is made up by resonance from musical notes. Different note patterns create different formation of matter. This means that music and sound actually hold matter together, but also dissolves matter, depending on how and what we play and how we perform it. Therefore music can be spiritual or very down to earth, materialistic and solid. If music is such a basic thing in the whole creation, is this why music is so important to us humans? Even animals and plants react to music. My dog loves when I play the guitar, for example. Keith Richards, the Rolling Stones guitar player, was once asked where he got all those great songs from, and he answered the reporter that all those songs were already there in the air. You just have to be sensitive and pick them up. I think there is a lot of truth in that. I believe that when we compose music, we do pick up what is out there in the universe and we borrow from what is already there, without knowing that we do so. Even great composers like Mozart and Beethoven were probably not able to pick up more than a fragment of what is possible to pick up from the myriads of galaxies, and create great music from. Still, they created all these beautiful symphonies. Then imagine what is actually possible to create on a higher spiritual level. Love. True love is unconditional. This means that you give without expecting anything back. Not because you have to due to that's what they say you should do, but because it comes from your heart to do so. It's easy to pretend practicing this principle, but much harder to do it without ego, jealousy and expectation. Nevertheless, this is exactly what we need to start working on, because by giving love to others, you automatically give love to yourself, as we are all one. If everybody practiced this principle, no one would go hungry, no one would suffer and everybody would have what they need to ascend to higher spiritual existences. Do not pretend you can love others until you realize them as being one with yourself. There is only one solution to the New World Order problem and the suffering in the third dimension, and the solution is spiritual. It is what you see, perceive and experience that is true for you. When you enlighten people around you by showing them how the third dimension reality is constructed, and by pointing out the way to get out of it, you really do the best you can. Some people will listen and find their own path, similar or dissimilar to yours. Others will not and will stay in the reality they are in, at least for now. Don't try to force your reality upon others, let each of us find our own journey. Just tell them what you know and perceive as an inspiration. I don't mean that we should die and take the easy way out from the problem. That is not the way it works. The third dimension will always exist as long as there are souls keeping it in place. The way to change things is to change yourself from within. When you see things change around you to the better, it is actually you that is changing. If one day you notice that the New World Order is no longer around, it is because you changed, not the environment. The New World Order at that point still exists, but not on the spiritual level you are. When this happens, you have done all you can, and the people you see around you in the New World without the Illuminati are the people who followed a similar path. Very important, like I have said elsewhere in other videos, don't believe everything because I say so. It is your path and you need to decide which way you want to go and how to get there. Then there is another extremely important and essential part in becoming free. We must learn to always listen to our conscience. We all know inside what is right and what is wrong for us personally, and we have to choose to live as best as we can after what we feel is right. The great philosopher Mahatma Gandhi once said, "You must be the change you want to see in the world." If we follow this rule, we will much easier reach higher realms of existence, realms far more spiritual than this one. I am not saying it is easy, but compared with living under unimaginable slavery, their effort is well worth it. We all will realize this sooner or later, but I prefer sooner.
Sit out here and waste my time away, right back home. It's what the world got to for people like me and people like you, and I was just waking up and it not be true, but it is. But it is living in the new world, and it also. With politicians and Richmond, Lord knows it all, and I have total control. And I know what you think, but I know what you do, and I don't think you know, and I know that you do.